In this segment, we're going to talk about knowing your market. So, if you are a composer who is looking to write for school ensembles, it's very, very important that you understand exactly what that kind of music means. People compose for orchestras and bands and choirs of all levels, of all types. There's community and professional level, college orchestras, that sort of thing. When we're talking about publishing for school ensembles, it's a very, very specific market with a lot of very, very specific guidelines that are adhered to. And it's very important that you understand what it is that directors are looking for in music in order to make your music marketable and publishable. So, for instance, it's a very, very good idea to really understand what does school ensemble music look like. There are many ways you can do this. A lot of wonderful composers for school music have also been band or orchestra directors themselves, and they really understand how it's written, how it's scored, what the needs are, instrumentations, and that sort of thing. If that's not something that you're familiar with, it's a great idea to talk to as many orchestra or band directors that you can find and ask them what are the specific needs they find, what do they look for when it comes to music. There is absolutely no shortage of scores and recordings out there of music from all levels, from beginner through advanced. So just spend all the time that you can going through scores, listening to recordings, seeing how the different levels of ensembles are scored, seeing what kind of the ranges that they use, what kind of length, the kind of meters, what kind of keys are used at different levels. And it's also a good idea to go to publisher websites and check out their publishing guidelines. Each of them will have different levels. There's different series, one for beginners, one for intermediate, one for advanced, that sort of thing. And each one of them has their own publishing guidelines. When it comes to music, of course, great music is great music. So it needs to be, something that has a great melody, something that at least for me personally, something that's engaging for students. Because again, you have to think about who's performing your music here. You're having students perform your music. So is this something that's going to be engaging and fun for a student? It's also very important that you think about things in terms of educational value. Because again, this is music that's being published for school ensembles. So it's all about music education. When composers write, let's say, for commercial jingles, for movie scores, for whatever, that's all for either marketing or for dramatic effect. Your music, of course, you want to have all that in there, but it also has to have educational value. And another good resource is to get very, very familiar with all the different method books that many that are popular out there right now, and look and see what kind of rhythms, what kind of scales and whatnot are being taught at the different levels, and then utilize that in your writing so that you're reinforcing what the students are learning in their method books. The director will look for things, can my students play this? Is this going to be attainable for my students? Will it keep them engaged? And does it have good educational value? And now by keeping them engaged, that also means things along the lines of, are all the sections active? I get submissions for publications from a lot of composers where, the brass might sit there and do nothing for 40 measures. And anybody who's been in a classroom or a band room rehearsal or an orchestra rehearsal will tell you, if you have a number of kids, if you have a half-hour rehearsal and there's a whole section of students sitting there doing nothing for a long time, that's when problems begin to happen. I know when I was a band director myself, the first thing I would do I would see, what's the percussion doing? Is there enough percussion parts to keep my percussionists busy? And is there enough percussion to keep them occupied? I would look for, what do the brass ranges look like? How are the brass parts handled? Because you have to think about, me personally, I would think about their endurance. I would think about the context of an entire concert. So it's not just this one piece, it's an entire concert, and what are the needs of my players? When it comes to being published in the sheet music for band and orchestra world, it's not about, artistic prowess. It really is about playability, educational value, all within, while still maintaining, great music. So in conclusion, knowing your market is the critical first step in learning how to hone your creative skills to write great music for school ensembles.